Hey everybody. I know we ran a little short of time today, so I'd just like to fill you in with anything that you may have missed, just so you don't miss out on anything that the other sections would have got. So where we left off on Chapter 2, we were talking about the actual planning and provision of special education services. And we were talking a little bit about this idea of collaboration, that we're going to be working with a lot of people across a lot of different areas. General ed teachers, administrators, school psychologists, therapists, the whole nine. One thing specifically that we want to talk about in Chapter 2 is this idea of co-teaching. With this model of inclusion, and we're going to talk a little bit about inclusion a little bit later, there's more special educators going into what we would consider the general education classroom than really ever before, and that continues to increase as time goes on. And there's a few models of co-teaching, where we have two or more, teachers working together for a common goal that we'd like to talk a little bit about. So as you can see here on the list, one teaching, one helping, parallel teaching, station teaching, alternative teaching, team teaching. And we're going to look at all of them on how they would look on an actual diagram. So I have my little paint program right here pulled up, and I have some students here as desks. And the first thing that we're going to be looking at is the one teaching, one helping. So let's just say that we have this class of people up here, okay, and so teacher 1, we're going to denote with T1, is going to be in the front, and all the kids will be looking at teacher 1. And then you're going to have teacher 2, not necessarily in the back, but they're going to be going wherever they need. Maybe this person needs some help. Maybe this person up here needs some help. Maybe this person over here needs some help. So the idea is that teacher 1 is going to be in charge of the direct instruction, and teacher 2 is going to be providing the assistance so that teacher 1 can move forward with direct instruction, while the students that might need a little bit of extra help or catching up or whatnot can definitely get the help, the catching up or whatnot, whatever they need. So that's the teaching, one assisting. Let's back up a little bit. The next is parallel teaching. And what this does is this aims to decrease the student to teacher ratio in a class. So let's just put a couple more rows of students in here. Basically, you're going to have a group that you're going to cut in half, and you're going to have the same material, okay, be taught by both teachers, but just to a group of half the size. So instead of one teacher trying to teach 20 students, that teacher just has to split their time and resources between 10 students instead. And then teacher 2 will take the other 10 students and they'll be teaching them down here. So it's parallel. They're both teaching the same thing, but just to a smaller group. Next is this idea of station teaching, and I'm going to make a new one for this. And what station teaching is let's just say we have 6 stations here, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pardon my mousing and my circles here. So we're going to have teacher 1 up here. We're going to have teacher 2 down here. And then let's say we're going to have learning stations A, B, C, and then D. So what's going to happen is, let's say we have 6 equal groups, and what's going to happen is that everybody's going to take their turn and go around. So teacher 1 could be teaching something completely different, and then we'll have learning stations A and B that go along with, we can even draw a little diagonal line down like this. So you have teacher 1 here with learning activities A and B, and then teacher 2 will be teaching lesson 2 with subsidiary learning activities C and D, and then the students are basically just going to go in a nice little circle like this until they go all the way around. So that's pretty much what the idea of station teaching is. And it's actually very effective because it mixes things up. Students get to move around, they get to do different things, experience different things, and it's not prone to being stale at all. Now, alternative teaching is somewhat along the lines of parallel teaching, but slightly different. So I'm going to back up and delete the second half of my class here. And let's say that we have a group of 20 kids in a class. So in this model, what's going to happen is that you're going to have the majority of the class up here with teacher number 1. And let's say there's a group of kids in class that might need a little bit of extra help or something like that. Let's just say it's this group right here well, I guess I have 7. I kind of cut this kid off. We'll put him back here. So this group of 7 kids right here are going to come down, and they're going to be working with teacher number 2. I'm sure you've seen these little half circle tables. Here's teacher 2 right here. And then the students can just position themselves around here, and they can get their instruction from teacher 2 right here. So what happens is that for people that might need a little bit of extra help, once again you see that there's less kids here, so there's going to be more opportunity for individual instruction, and teacher 1 can help the students that might need a little bit less support, but there's more of them, so in the end the teacher's efforts will be somewhat equally divided. Teacher 1 will have more kids, but there will be less need. Teacher 2 will have less kids, but there will be more need. And then lastly, we have this idea of team teaching, which in theory sounds really good, and I've seen it used, but it's also could be one of the most difficult, especially if you have teachers with a lot of strong personalities as to how they think their classroom should go. So basically everybody is looking up at the front, and there's only one lesson happening, but teachers 1 and 2 are both basically providing the instruction at the same time. It's not that one is helping, one's assisting, they're both providing the same instruction at the same time, taking turns. Each one may take turns going in and helping individual students with individual questions. You can choose different parts. It really comes down to the teamwork between teacher 1 and teacher 2. And it's going to take a lot of teamwork because this is, like I said, this is not the easiest one to be able to implement, but could potentially be one of the most successful. So those are the different co-teaching models that you should know about for Chapter 2. We've already talked about the IEP components, so we'll move on. So one thing that I want you to do is I want you to stop and take a couple seconds and think about what we've talked about today. This idea of least restrictive environment. We know that's one of the mandates of IDEA, and we have already discussed in class that the least restrictive environment is the environment in which each or a student and their individual disability, that student's disability has the least restricting consequence on that person's success. So I'm interested to hear from you guys what you think what is the least restrictive setting. We've learned a lot about the different settings from Chapter 1, from general ed all the way to homebound and hospital. Which one of those do you consider the least restrictive environment? And I'll go so far as to even give you this list right here and show you guys this and leave this up for a minute so you can think. Which is the least restrictive environment? Which environment has the least amount of restriction on a child's disability? Go ahead and think about that. We're going to talk about that in class next time. Also, one other question that I want you to think about for next time is we've talked about this idea of inclusion, and we talked about how 80% of children receive special education services between either full general education or mostly general education. So I want you to think about this idea of inclusion and how we think about it today. I'm sure you've heard the word thrown around the media, the internet, and whatnot. What is good about it? What is potentially bad about it? I want you to take a couple minutes and I want you to think about that. And we're going to talk about that when we come back to class next time. So anyways, just to remember, the chapter 1 and 2 question sets for next week, or the quizzes rather, the quizzes / question sets. You remember you get 3 opportunities, best of 3, open note, resource, everything. Remember you have the pyramid notes, which is you're going to take the 2 articles or videos or resources that we have under the TEC articles and other resources under week 1, and you're going to select 2. You're going to do the longhand APA referencing for those, and remember to use Purdue Writing Lab if you need help. Then you're going to actually read the articles, and you're going to pull some in-text citation from those, and you're going to use those in the actual blocks of the pyramid. So the longhand reference of the source goes on the second page under reference 1 and reference 2. The in-text citations go actually inside the pyramid. So you're doing 2 different kinds of APA formatting on this. And then remember you have the 3 surveys, the About Me, the Learning Styles, and the Experience in High School Special Education. And remember that everything for this class, for the most part, will be due on Sunday at 11:59 p.m. So anyways, thanks for watching this, and if you need anything this weekend, I'll be around, so you can just let me know, send me a message or anything like that, and I'll be more than happy to help you. Thanks.